Hi, my name is Brittany, and I survived breast cancer.
And that's on period, sis.
I know how bodies grow and bloom like flowers. Flowers open just like skin. I know that skin that has been opened leaves a raised surface. I know scars aren't meant to be hidden. I know celebration is like the sun sitting and setting in your chest. I know how your chest can feel when you can't celebrate its beauty. I know beauty has more definitions than we have fingers, and it creaks on the wooden floorboards of your self-doubt. I know self-doubt can be erased when certain arms are around you. Praise for the humans that defy growth, that blossom when leaves fall and petals come away, and praise to the chest that looks like survival. Praise to the person who turns war of cells into land for life, who turns fear into victory that sits close to their hearts, who turns everyone around them into a believer of the light in the dark, or flowers that don't mean, I'm sorry for your loss, but instead you are still here, blossoming in your finest hour. Praise to the power that cancer could not take.
Welcome back to another episode of Period Sis. Y'all, I'm your host, Mandii B, and the conversation today, I'm looking forward to having with yet another survivor of breast cancer. Some of you may not know that this is the actual reason I brought Period Sis back. My best friend battled breast cancer over the pandemic, and it was literally season 1 of this podcast that I feel like saved her life. During the pandemic, she let me know that she felt a lump in her breast. And because of the stories and the horrors that I was actually hearing from my guests here, I threatened her. Sure did, because that's my energy. And I said, we will not speak. I will not be your friend. Our friendship agreement will be burned if you do not go to the doctor. She laughs to this day because I was dead ass. I said, girl, you don't know the stories I'm hearing. And so she went to the doctor. First doctor, I don't think gave her a good enough answer. So I said, nah, girl, you got to go back or you got to talk to another doctor. That's Georgia healthcare for you. And literally the second time she went in, they went through all the things that we're about to hear in today's episode. But she ended up being diagnosed with breast cancer. And just 2 years later, she is cancer-free. And I genuinely feel like I have this podcast to thank for my best friend still being here. And so today, I am joined by Brittany, 36-year-old woman from New Jersey, to talk about how she too is a survivor of breast cancer. Brittany,
Hi,
thank you for
Mandii.
joining me today.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Oh my God. So
Yes.
happy that you reached out to share your
Yes.
journey, your story. But before we get there, I think it's really important that this specifically, cancer specifically, is a word we hear. And probably a little bit more because people are all into the zodiac signs and shit.
Right.
But in terms of healthcare,
Yes.
we don't know much about cancer growing up.
Right.
I would like to know, what were the conversations or any education that you felt like you had regarding cancer as you were coming of age?
Wasn't really much until my mother got diagnosed in 2006. She had her, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and then she had to go through the whole. I think she had a partial mastectomy, and then she had to go do radiation. And
Okay.
then
How old were you around this time?
I was 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was 18. So, but anytime before that, it wasn't really anything because, honestly, I went through a health issue myself. You know, I know it's like a little off topic, but I have kidney disease, and I'm on dialysis.
Oh, wow.
I'm on hemodialysis. I was diagnosed at 11, and I had two kidney transplants, which one of them my mom did donate to me, but ended up failing because of the diagnosis that I had and the type of disease that I have. It ended up like damaging the transplant, so I ended up losing it, and I had a second one in 2005, but I had complications from surgery. So the kidney just didn't last. So I've been on dialysis since 2005.
So I think then you do have what I would consider a different experience because you've had surgeries at a young age and been in the hospital for those.
Right.
I guess your trust, air quotes there, or care to be in the, a hospital, you weren't really scared.
No, it was
Because
honestly no.
you were kind of not new to it,
Right.
essentially.
Yeah.
And I think that is a lot of the fear, right? The first step is actually going to get tested and treated, but you
right.
had already been in the system. I hate to say it that way.
Technically.
But
Yes.
so you were 18 years old and
Yes.
you realized that your mother had breast cancer. I guess I'll go through that. What was that like for your family then? Were you learning on the fly about what this meant, what she had to do and things like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, my mom was pretty like to herself too. So like I knew what she was going through, and we went, took her to her, radiation treatments, and then, a couple months later we found out, she was good. She was in remission. The cancer was gone, and it went from there. And then I remember the year. I think it was 2016. Then because she started to have pain in her middle of her chest. And then we ended up going to her primary doctor. He took some x-rays and CAT scan, and then he was, the images looked concerning. So when they did everything, it was the breast cancer, but it metastasized to her lungs. So it was considered a secondary breast cancer in the lungs.
Oh, wow.
So, so from there, she had to immediately start the chemo and everything. So it's been a journey since 2016.
Well, that was a journey that you experienced as watching someone battle it.
Yes.
I would love to get into your journey.
It just felt like I noticed I felt like some kind of heaviness.
Okay.
And it was in the left breast. And I just happened to just do like an exam, just like do like the fingers, and I felt something moving, it was on this side, and then when I moved it moved to this side. So it was like poking through to the other side, and I'm like, this feels weird. Like it just felt like a solid mass was just in there.
Like a pebble.
Yeah,
it was
but
small?
No, it didn't feel small. It felt like it was long because when I pressed it from this side, it went over here. So it was like it was.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So then I went to my primary care doctor and I was like, hey, I just have this lump. I feel like, can we get it checked out? So, and at that time, like I was like 33 or 34, and around our age at that time, we don't do mammograms because you're supposed to be like 40. I think it's like 40 and up. So
yeah.
So she ended up giving me a script to do the mammogram, and then I did it, and then they found something there. So then, okay, the next step is to do a biopsy. So I ended up doing the biopsy, and when I got the results back, it said it was LCIS, which is called lobular carcinoma in situ.
Okay.
So
and that is
it's the way they explain it. They say it's a condition where like abnormal cells form in the milk lobules in your breast.
okay.
So, but the way the doctor was explaining to me that it's not necessarily cancer, and I'm like, okay, but carcinoma means cancer, and I'm like, so how is it not cancer?
Can we stay there? I only want to stay there because so many of, again, I would say women in their early 30s, I would say between 30 and 35. And there's an alarming rate now of specifically Black women being diagnosed with breast cancer around that age, the age where we're not supposed to be concerned about breast cancer, or we're oftentimes not even giving mammograms to check us.
Right.
I want to know, once they felt something and suggested a biopsy next, what was the, I guess, tone of the doctors? Did you feel supported in being educated? I think to hear in one way that these cells are abnormal, and then for them to be like,
it's not cancer.
but it's not cancer, but
Right.
it could be, but
Right.
it leaves you to go home and, again, what do we do? Go straight to goddamn Google, and it tells us we're dying.
Exactly.
So
That's what I did.
that's what you did. So I want to know then, what were the follow-up questions, or how did you get to a place? Let's start there. What were your follow-up questions, and what further information were you given prior to the biopsy?
Well, basically, like I didn't get anything prior to it. It was just basically before the diagnosis. They were just, it was concerned that there was a mass there.
Okay.
And we were just gonna biopsy. We're gonna test it, and then
Biopsy.
Yeah. So they did the biopsy. So then we tested it, and we got the name and everything, and ended up seeing a breast surgeon, which was pretty convenient because the breast team, or the cancer team that my mother was seeing, they actually got word of me, me having something, and so they immediately got me in there to see a breast surgeon.
Now,
So,
I want to be a little technical during this, especially with your mom having a breast surgeon team. You being in New Jersey, and I know that this differs by state, guys. My friend had to get a different type of insurance. Her insurance did not cover cancer treatment, mastectomies. Like, she had to seek organizational help to get this. What did it look like from a financial standpoint for you? Or did your insurance cover all of the treatment and tests that had to be run?
yes, my insurance covered because basically, like, I have, through the kidney disease, I have Medicare. So I'm
Okay.
already automatically with Medicare, and then I have a secondary through, like a Medicaid or a Medicare through, the state or whatever. So I basically was covered
Okay.
for basically everything. So that wasn't really an issue
Okay.
for me.
So you meet
So-
with the breast surgeon doctors.
Yes.
Now, a lot of women are connected to their breasts. They love their breasts. Sometimes it's the best part of them.
Right.
I know for a lot of women, the idea of having to get them removed, and sometimes it's one, sometimes it's two.
Right.
I want to know what that conversation looked like, the care they took or didn't take in kind of explaining what a mastectomy was. Because again, I don't think you hear about even what a mastectomy is until
Right.
you have to have the conversations around
Right.
cancer. So can we dig
Okay.
into what those conversations
Yes.
with the doctor sounded like?
So when I first got the diagnosis, which was in 2021, and I had the lump, they basically were just like, oh, this LCIS. They just kind of played it off as if, because they're saying that it's not cancer. So I'm like, okay, then what do we do? What are the steps? So the next step was to do the lumpectomy. So we're going to do a lumpectomy, take it out, and then, you should be okay. We'll clear out, we'll clean out, see if there's anywhere, residue or anything in there. And you should be fine after that. So in September 2021, I did get the lumpectomy, had it done. It was fine, a smooth recovery. I was good. And then afterwards, they said, from now on, you'll have to do mammograms every 6 months.
For the rest of your life.
Well, until, just for screenings, screenings just in case it happens to come back. But this is what you have to do now. Every
Wow.
6 months, do your mammogram screenings. Do it. So I was doing it from since then. And in 2022 up until 2023, June, I did my mammogram, and the mammogram came out normal. And then there was another test I had to do. I had to do an MRI with a
Okay.
mammogram. And once I did that was a completely different story. So
Okay, so they
Yeah.
tell you to get a mammogram every 6 months, but then you get something else that actually caught something the mammogram didn't catch.
So at first I was like, okay, it's removed. I'm fine. Even my mom was like, because I think they had there was a medication that was offered as optional that I can take as a preventative.
Okay.
But I think it was called tamoxifen. So it was a medication that you can take for 5 years as a preventative that can kind of slow down the progression of whatever you have, like the cancer. I guess I was in my mind. It was they took it out. I should be fine. I don't really need it. Plus the doctor, she didn't really push for it either. And she's like, it's fine. You don't have to take it. We got the
Wow.
lump out, everything, you should be okay. Just keep up with your 6-month mammogram. You should be fine. And I did my research with the LCIS. They said if you can, if you get rid of the, your lumps, or they get rid of the, the cancer, they said maybe 10 years later, you could possibly be at risk for it. But mine came in 2 years. It turned into cancer in 2 years. So
Wow.
once I got the mammogram, the MRI mammogram, and then they showed it said enhancements, like I said, it lit up on the screen, there was enhancements in the breast. So there was no lumps. It says a non-mass. So there were no lumps. There were specks all throughout my left breast. It
Wow.
was scattered just all throughout.
And so you get this news, and immediately what's
So they had to do another biopsy.
oh
Another biopsy. to take the tissue and see what, what was there, it really is. And then, that whole wait, I had to wait like almost a week and a half. And I'm like, oh my God.
This week
just
and a
like
half,
the anxiety of like waiting to see what it is and what's going to, because even when they were doing the mammogram, they were even the text, like the radiology texts were like concerned. And I'm like, oh my God, and then they, they can't tell you,
I think doctors might need to take some poker lessons, because not only do they call things abnormal and, something's not right. Like, even the delivering things, to know that you're like, they was looking like, oh, this don't look good. Mm-hmm. And then you have to wait a week and a half for your results.
For the results.
So you get your results.
Yeah. And I'm looking at it and I'm looking at all these like the terms, and all I see is like, I see invasive lobular carcinoma. I see multifocal specs. I see multiple, like, it was like all, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay. I'm like, geez, I told my sister, like, I think I have cancer. And I'm like, and she's like, wait, hold on. So it was just like, it just blew my mind.
And so you were diagnosed?
Yes, I was diagnosed with invasive lobular carcinoma in situ.
Stage
1.
Stage 1.
Yes. So basically, like the cancer, because usually in situ means inside. So it was inside the lobules. Now they broke out of it and they scattered outside of the lobules.
And so you had to have another conversation. This time, it wasn't just the removal. What was the conversation this time?
The options were another lumpectomy and radiation this time. And then the next option was the mastectomy.
Okay.
And I felt like, okay, if you do the lumpectomy again and then do a little bit of radiation, what's the chance of it coming back again and have to redo this all over again?
You asked them that.
Yeah.
What did they
and
say?
they're like, it's possible. It can happen. So it's like, and I didn't have much breast left. I didn't have much, there. So it's like, you're going to keep doing a lumpectomy, taking pieces, more pieces out of breast tissue out. And it just didn't make sense.
So I didn't think of that. You had one lumpectomy already.
Right.
How did it make your breasts look different?
Yeah, it was. My left one was a little off. It was like a little, what's the word? Disformed or disfigured a little bit.
Did that change the way you viewed or felt comfortable in your body?
Of course. Like, I mean, I just given with overall my health too. I have scars everywhere from surgeries and this and that. Like, I'm already like, I guess a little self-conscious about the scars. I'm like, oh, I got another scar or another disformity, like,
Right.
So that was, I didn't like that. So
having that even on a part that, we normally, men or women or whoever are looking at, are those things, do you feel like you have to open up and explain that to your partners? Like your scars and
yeah, because it's there, it's visible, it's there. Like I have 2 scars on my belly from the transplants, and I have my access for my dialysis shunt here. I had another big scar here. Like I have a lot, and the complications that I had from the second transplant caused me to have a lot of stretch marks. So I have stretch marks along my body, and it's just So it takes time, or it builds, like trying to build up the sense to try to talk to my,
even explain it to
explain
somebody.
like, hey, you're gonna have to deal with this, whatever, like, like,
to know, like, hey,
you're gonna have to accept this if you want, if you really,
Oh wow.
So it's
So let's get to the mastectomy part of it all then.
Okay. So I was juggling back and forth about like if I wanted to just do the one, like my left side, because the left side was affected.
Right.
So, but talking to my sister and talking to friends, they were like, just, do both, just for the heck of it, just to give yourself a peace of mind, just in case. Yep. You know what I mean? So I ended up just going with that, doing the double.
Because was that discussed to you?
Yes.
That just because we remove this doesn't mean that this can't happen to the other side.
Right.
So their suggestion
and we don't know, because like, granted, judging from the mammograms and the MRI, my right side was fine. But
for now.
And exactly.
They probably were like, you have better chances of not getting this again with the double mastectomy.
Right.
With that decision, put me in your mindset. You said you talked to your friends, your sister.
Because I was going back and forth, even Brown, and she was like, I was like, oh man, just do this one, just do the left one. But I'm like, just I guess just do both. But I was just really just like juggling. It was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get, they're gonna be taken off. Like, oh my God, it was just I just didn't know like the future. I just didn't know like what was gonna happen, how I was gonna recover. And I'm looking at the recovery part, and I'm like, how are they gonna look? And then they did offer me the option of reconstruction, breast reconstruction as well, to get implants. So I'm like, okay, if that's an option, I was like, I'll take it. I'll take that. And so when was it? August? Yes. So I met with the plastic surgeon. My breast surgeon actually set me up with the plastic surgeon. I met with him, consulted, and we got everything situated. My surgery date was August 31st of 2023. And yeah,
wow.
It was.
and you're here to share your story.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
And so you currently are breast cancer free?
Cancer free.
Cancer free.
Yes. So actually, I'm going to go back to before that. So after I had the surgery and I met with the breast surgeon, she actually gave us some really interesting news that they got the pathology results back, because when they take breast tissue out, they go and they send it to the lab and they test it.
They do full screenings.
Yes. So she actually told us that my right breast actually had the LCIS all through my right breast, and it was not detected on the mammograms.
In all of these, you had 2 biopsies, you had a lumpectomy,
yes,
and you've had multiple mammograms since then, and
right.
nothing had been detected until they did that screening.
Right.
So, being cancer-free now, though, what does it look like to continually make sure you stay that way?
Just to, I guess, I have to do the mammograms. They still want me to do it, just even with the implants and all, because she did say that they cleaned out all of the breast tissue, but probably not all of it. You know what I mean? But
so why are they saying they cleaned it all out?
They're like, oh, you're good, you're good, whatever.
And
but
even
I guess
for your right breast to be fine the whole time, just for it really not to
I guess
be.
even because with the construction, I guess they had to leave. They couldn't scrape out everything, but they scraped out. I guess the way she was saying, they scraped out enough or to get rid of whatever they saw. So
this is basically an anxiety-ridden thing that you have to live with for the rest of your life.
I mean, they took out the lymph. It didn't spread to my lymph nodes, thank God. But it's still something that I keep in the back of my mind, like, because it can, because that's what I had, the LCIS.
Can you talk a little bit about how you were given advice after your lumpectomy? You were given advice for chemo and radiation, but you were like, there has to be another option for me here.
So the first surgeon who did the lumpectomy, she basically was just like, now that this is cancer, you'll have to, she just started giving me options for like chemo treatments or radiation if I wanted to do that. But it was only just if I did the lumpectomy. And then we were like, it just didn't sit right. So we're like, we're going to go for, just a second opinion. So I went to another cancer center in my area and found a wonderful, wonderful breast surgeon. She was amazing and just super nice. And she said, she's like, no, you don't really need, the chemo or the radiation. We can just do, we have the option for the double mastectomy if you want to, because that'll be like a better route for you, especially with me being like a young age and then having to go through, especially with everything I'm going through already with the dialysis. I have to do dialysis 4 days a week. I can't, and having to do chemo. Radiation, that would just be too much on me and my body mentally and physically. So she really reassured me about just doing the mastectomy, and also reassuring about like we have the option you can do the breast reconstruction. And pretty much I was like sold.
How important do you think it is for anyone with this diagnosis to seek a second opinion?
It's really important, because you don't know, like some doctors could even like push you to like do something that is really not necessary as well. And you can it's always just good to just have other opinions, especially from other medical professionals who actually they may even like know more, or they have like better technology or just better advancements for you compared to someone who's just trying to just say, oh, okay, this is what you have and this is what we're going to do. Like, and that's it. You have no other options.
Did you do any form of genetic testing that gave the percentage of how susceptible you may be to other cancers?
Yes, I did. I think it did come back negative though.
Okay.
So I guess I'm good in that part.
Okay.
Well, from the testing, it
And is
showed.
that something that they require? I know
Yes.
that again, my best friend, it runs in her family, so they suggested it. Clearly your mother,
Yes.
but was it?
It was suggested, yeah,
it
because
was
once they
suggested,
found out
okay.
that, we do have history of it, and the doctor was just like, let's just do it.
I will say for anyone listening who may feel like cancer is not genetic or runs in their family, I would 100% say and just ask, even if they don't suggest to do the
Right.
genetic testing.
I would just do it.
I would love for you, as someone diagnosed at the young age, in your early 30s with cancer, what you would suggest to maybe other women listening. Even I think the way you said you felt something wrong and you made the immediate decision to go get tested. What advice would you give to someone who may feel like something's not right there either?
Yeah. Do your checks, like the checks with your fingers and your breasts. Just feel around, see if you feel anything abnormal. Also request for your doctor to just do a screening test, screening tests for you, although sometimes I know it's complicated and the doctors have to say a certain word or a certain code. They have to put a certain diagnosis code or something in order to get that for you. But I'm sure there's ways around that the doctors can get
And this is
these
your
done
primary
for you.
or gyno?
This is my primary.
This is your
care
primary doctor. Okay.
Yes, this is my primary doctor. So she automatically just did it for me just because I felt like, okay, something's not right. And it just, it's weird because I didn't feel pain. I just felt like a heaviness in
Wow.
my left breast.
And
So-
knowing that, I think, again, you can feel it. I know I've heard other women say they were getting sharp pains where maybe you think it's heartburn or acid
Right,
reflux
or
and it's
something.
really it's not a sharp pain in your rib, it's actually your breast. And you said it just felt heavy.
Yeah, it just
So
felt heavy.
there's a lot of different symptoms and ways you could feel. Ladies,
Also, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Also, it could be check if you have any nipple discharge or anything. That can
Oh.
also be a significant sign as well.
It's nipple discharge.
Discharge.
Okay, see,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Noted.
That's a sign.
Well, Brittany, thank you so very much for joining us today. Please, please, please let our audience know where they may be able to follow you, especially if anyone listening
Yes.
may share the same story as you.
You can catch me. My IG is _Britt_J at Instagram.com.
And make sure you stay for more stats and facts right after these messages. Woo! This episode was deep, and I'll be honest, was one of the episodes I was the most nervous to do. I wanted to share some more stats and facts. Breast cancer is a disease in which cells in the breast grow out of control, and there are, of course, different kinds of breast cancer. The kind of breast cancer depends on which cells in the breast actually turn into cancer. And breast cancer is the second most common cancer among women in the United States. And why would this happen? Age is something in which most breast cancers are diagnosed after the age of 50. However, like our guest today, as well as my best friend, they were diagnosed far before their 50s. Definitely with it being seen more frequently in young adults in their 30s now, I think it's really important that we start adding a mammogram into our yearly physicals. Genetics, of course, is another reason why you may be more susceptible to getting breast cancer. Family history are at a higher risk of breast and ovarian cancer. And then, of course, reproductive history, decreased activity or obesity, and previous radiation or hormone therapies. Now, symptoms are going to be different for each individual, and some people do not have any signs or symptoms at all. However, signs of breast cancer can include a new lump in the breast or underarm, thickening or swelling of parts of the breast, irritation or dimpling of breast skin, redness or flaky skin in the nipple area or the breast, or pulling in on the nipple or pain in the nipple areas. Keep in mind that these symptoms can happen with other conditions that are not cancer, but if you have any of these signs or symptoms, make sure you ask a doctor right away. Most healthcare providers recommend that women who are 50 to 74 years old or at the average risk for breast cancer get a mammogram every 2 years. If you know that people in your family have had breast cancer or there's been any sort of genetic signs that exists within your bloodline, I would say go as early as possible. So doctors from different specialties often will work together to treat breast cancer, and treatment may include surgery, chemotherapy, hormonal therapy, biological therapy, or radiation. Again, make sure you check with your healthcare providers, and I cannot stress this enough. Get another opinion. I would say if you go and you just feel like something is not right and you don't feel well, make sure that you are asking for another opinion. If you would like to see this show and some of your experiences be turned into an adult comedic animated series, please help us with our Kickstarter. Look at the description of this episode and click on the link to where it can send you right there. Any donation matters, and we thank you and appreciate you. Now, can't wait to see you next week on another tale of womanhood. All right, it's been another episode. Period, sis.